Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guests today are Marc Janssen and Chris Clark from the band the Dandelion Stompers, who are going to be the first band of KCCK's Jazz Into the Stars, coming up on August 4th. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I can't believe the band's been together 8 years, and it took us this long to get you to Jazz Into the Stars. So first off, apologies for that.
Well, we're happy to be here. It'll be a great show.
But we have, it's been our pleasure to work with the band for a lot. Matter of fact, I think one of your early gigs, to promote an early gig, you came up here and played live in our studio, I
We
think.
did, yeah. And you folks sponsored a couple of our Mardi Gras shows at the Mill, yeah.
Yep.
So
Dandelion Stompers is a band that's going to be familiar to much of the listening and live music audience. But for those who aren't, how do you describe the band sound? I usually default to traditional New Orleans. That's kind of what I say.
Pretty much 1920s New Orleans style jazz is what we're going for. We go into the 30s and we dip into the 40s just a little bit. But 1920s New Orleans style.
So, and Chris, you're the band's founder, so this idea germinated with you. What is it about that era of jazz that lit you up to the point where you wanted to start this band, and now nearly a decade later are still doing it?
So I got into this stuff kind of in college. It was the end of the swing craze of the 90s, if you want to throw yourself back in time. And then I moved to Austin, Texas around 2001 and really started playing this stuff quite a bit. Just had a ton of friends and played as many bands as I could at the time. But I just love it because it's dance music. It's got that strong beat and heavily melodic, and most of the songs we do have vocals in them as well. And so I've been pretty much doing this stuff for a little over 20 years now. And I've had other bands in different incarnations in Iowa City. But when I had one project end, Katie Roche and I had been talking about putting something together. And that's when we sort of made that come alive back in 2014.
Mark, what do you play?
I play guitar in this band. I met Chris, I guess I moved to Iowa City from Illinois in 2007. Met Chris in 2008 when I joined an old-time string band called the Gilded Bats. Chris was playing the big wash tub bass at that point, and I played mandolin in that band. But mostly I'm like an old-time fiddle player, and I play bluegrass and country music and rock and folk. And but I like basically traditional American music is kind of what I like to do, which this sort of jazz fits right in.
Doesn't get any more traditional American than New Orleans jazz.
Exactly right. Yeah. So basically, Chris, when he put this band together, I didn't really play jazz, but he knew that I knew more than 3 chords on the guitar. So he said, "Hey, would you be willing to play every quarter note for a 3-hour show?" So I said, "Okay, let's give it a whirl."
Uh-huh. That's right.
And so the band has been together 8 years.
Yep.
And what have been some of the highlights?
We've done a pretty interesting group of shows. We've played the Iowa City Jazz Fest. We've come up here. We did the I want to say it was the barbecue event at the amphitheater at McGrath a few years back. That was a pretty great one.
Mardi Gras, right at the beginning of the start of the band, we really kind of wanted to do a Mardi Gras show, and we suggested, hey, how about let's do this at the Mill? Nothing else is going on a Tuesday night. And from the first one, it was packed, and we had just a great time. And there's a great spot for dancers and food and all that stuff. So the Tuesday Mardi Gras shows at the Mill were great, and we're really, as everybody is, sad to see the Mill go.
I went to see several of those. Yeah, pour one out for the Mill. We miss it every day.
Yeah,
that's right. Well, and like Mark said, the swing dancers coming out to our shows has just been an amazing experience since the beginning. Up for most years, we've done several swing dance shows, either at the University of Iowa Swing Dance Club, or there are a couple of groups up here that we've played for. That's always amazing when dancers come out. So that's a big part of our shows.
By regular jazz band, modern jazz band standards, the instrumentation is a little different. Mm-hmm. So run through the band for us.
Right. So we've got our rhythm section is basically Mark on guitar, Brandy Janssen, his wife, on upright bass, and then Tim Crumley, who's a name that your viewers or your listeners and your viewers are going to know, on drums. Katie Roche is our singer, our primary singer. And then right now we've got a 4-piece horn section. So I play baritone saxophone. We've got Devin Van Holstein on alto sax, Suzanne Smith on clarinet, and Katie Greenstein on trumpet. So it's pretty close to a traditional New Orleans Dixieland-style band or traditional jazz band, but a couple instruments you don't often find in modern jazz there too.
So, to be honest, they aren't making new traditional New Orleans jazz too much
I suppose you're
anymore.
right. I suppose you're right. Yeah.
I mean, you know,
new tradition.
It's not that there aren't bands who aren't, you know, making music in that tradition, but that's
Right.
not really where you're looking for.
Right.
So, how has the repertoire changed, expanded? You know, how often do you bring things in and out? Are you always looking for new music? How does that work?
That's a really good question. This group we have here is mostly concentrated sort of around Iowa City. We've got one member in Des Moines, so getting us together to rehearse is kind of a trick, especially conditions being what they are with some COVID stuff going on. That said, we've been playing this set of music for several years now, and then we try to bring in a few new songs each year. And I think with our recording stuff going on, we're going to probably try to bring in a bunch of new tunes as well. So, every few months we'll bring in a song or two and try to get it out to everybody so they can rehearse it, and then we can get together to make sure it's show ready.
Where do you find those songs?
I pretty much go through my music collection or, things that I've found on Spotify or Pandora that catch my ear, and I'll make a quick screenshot on my phone to remember to go back and find it later on.
Shazam this.
Yes, exactly.
You're waving your phone at the speaker
Exactly.
trying to get it to hear it.
Whoever's in the car with me, write this down and grab that. So the first few songs we had that we started playing, Aggravatin' Papa's one, You Can't Shush Katie,
Big Butter and Eggman.
Big Butter and Eggman. These are old songs from the 20s that were done by King Oliver or Louis Armstrong. And a lot of those early ones, I found someone who had transcribed a lot of King Oliver charts. So I grabbed those charts and pretty much threw out everything but the melody and the chords, and we started using that, and we listened to a lot of stuff, and we started playing off of those. And then everything else that we've gathered over the years have been old songs that I haven't heard a lot. That's kind of what I was aiming for, were things that you didn't hear, sort of weren't overplayed. So that's kind of where I look for tunes.
So even though the playlist doesn't change really all that often,
Right.
It's still very fresh because these are songs that are unique.
Yeah, I think so. And Mark will attest, I allow him to bring in a country song every so often. And
The thing is, if you go back to the 1920s, you could find the same people who might be playing a square dance on the fiddle on Friday night. They might be playing guitar, with a jazz band on Saturday night. So I think there's a lot of crossover in the repertoire. You find things that Mississippi John Hurt does, that Louis Armstrong did, and then Hank Williams might have been doing the same sort of thing. So a lot of that stuff that actually might be known as a country song, works as a jazz tune too.
That's an interesting perspective because today we would look at the musical landscape and say, oh, jazz and country music couldn't be farther apart, and yet there was a time when they were very close together.
Yeah, 1945. Listen to Billy Jack Wills. That's straight up jazz with steel guitar and fiddle and mandolin. It's great stuff.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I think we've lost a little by compartmentalizing too much.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and for me, a lot of it has to do with dance music because, the old time fiddle stuff we do is dance music, contra dance and square dance. We play this for swing dance. We've played in a honky tonk band together where we do waltzes and
for
people are doing
two-stepping,
two-steps. Yeah, absolutely. So that's really, for me, what ties it together is that it's dance music. It's got that strong beat going.
Mm-hmm.
Talking with Marc and Chris from the Dandelion Stompers. It's the first Jazz Into the Stars, August 4th. We've ordered good weather.
Excellent.
And we
good, yeah.
also something that we started, we kind of piloted pre-pandemic, and then it went away with a lot of stuff, like a lot of stuff did during the pandemic. But we also have started putting two bands on the stage each night. So each one of our concerts will also feature a student-organized ensemble. And it's going to be a good one to lead you guys off.
Excellent.
You've got
Yeah,
a
I'm looking
great
forward to that, too.
you've got a great opener in Vivian Shanley and Friends. Vivian is the bassist out of Cedar Rapids, Washington, who has gained quite a national profile in her career, and is headed to Lawrence University in the fall. And and she's surrounded herself with some kids out of Cedar Falls, a couple out of the Iowa City area, some of the top student players around. I'm going to say that every week. The top student players around it, but it also won't be a lie any of those times.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just going to be a great night of music. What does the future hold for the Dandelion Stompers?
So we've got an album that we're working on. I don't know. So there's a lot of weird stuff going on with actually producing an album and actually getting something recorded and in your hands. Right now we're looking at doing an LP, a vinyl LP, and then we'll have digital download available and CDs available. I don't know where the market is for actually getting those things in our hands, but hopefully within a year, maybe by the end of this year, maybe by the spring. And I'm hoping we'll keep on doing what we're doing. I'd like to see some of the swing dance clubs come back. I mean, some of that stuff just kind of dissolved, and with the groups in the area, some people moved away for job reasons, but I'm hoping that we can get a lot of those back and start playing a lot more swing dances as well.
The Dandelion Stompers open Jazz Under the Stars, KCCK's 34th year of doing jazz concerts in Noelridge Park. Coming up August 4th. Music starts at 6:30 with Vivian Shanley and Friends, and then at 7 o'clock with the Dandelion Stompers. If people want to learn more about the band or follow you on social media or the web, where can they do that?
We've got dandelionstompers.com. You can find our shows there, and we're on Facebook and Instagram as well. So just look for Dandelion Stompers.
Chris and Mark, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks very much for having us.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.